Good evening, I'm Mario Boscus. The post-snow grind finally, hopefully going away. Street cleaners back on the job. Alternate street parking returning for the first time in close to a whole month.
The piles of snow are melting, and it's time to grab your keys and move your car for alternate side parking.
It was pointless.
Lenny thinks the city could have waited another week.
Well, the streets can't be cleaned with this mounds of snow. I mean, they should actually get the melters to melt it down.
Kevin is one of the few people that benefited from the piles of snow.
I had the truck, so I was able to get into spots that nobody else could. Now that everything's melting, it's kind of back to being impossible to park in Bay Ridge.
But for Richie, he says the streets have become a mess.
Snow's been covering all the garbage, all the cans, paper. It needs some cleaning.
For many drivers we see sitting in their cars, this is the first time they're moving them in weeks. Mary Lynn Buckley, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM in Bay Ridge.
Wednesday time, 7:31 is get you where you need to go with Andre Farrell.
Double trouble on the Southern State Parkway. Here's what we see on Long Island's Big Three. Eastbound, heading towards Fletcher Avenue, we have one lane knocked out with a crash, but the westbound side is building over by Central Avenue, heading towards the westbound belt because of some activity right around 130th Avenue, heading down towards Merrick Boulevard. Now, if you're using the LIE and Northern State Parkways, those are in good order. Here's what we see, and here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. Well, the inbound George Washington Bridge, it's about 15 minutes. The problem is once you get to the Cross Bronx, activity over by Webster Avenue, that's going to slow you down. The outbound side is just about 10 minutes, not too bad there. Lincoln and Holland tunnels, 5 minutes round trip on both. Brooklyn Bridge, Brooklyn bound, not so fast. And the westbound BQE Flushing Avenue is busy. Looks like we have a stall right around Morgan Boulevard as you travel westbound across the Kosciuszko, heading towards the Williamsburg and exit 32A. Andre Farrow, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM.
Let's get a check of the AccuWeather forecast with meteorologist Brian Thompson.
Much of the early part of tonight will end up dry. We'll see the best chance for some rain and drizzle toward daybreak. There could be a few icy spots north and west of 287 late tonight into tomorrow morning. We'll see a low of 36 tonight. We'll have a high close to 40 tomorrow with mostly some rain and drizzle. It's going to wind down by later in the day. We'll still have clouds tomorrow night, a low 38. Clouds try to break for some sun on Saturday, a high of 47. Cloudy, breezy, and colder Sunday with some snow from a developing coastal storm. Sunday's high about 36. Snow at times Sunday night before ending as flurries Monday. The snow may accumulate 1 to 3 inches depending on the track of the storm and how fast it intensifies. Then it will turn colder into Monday. I'm active by the meteorologist Brian Thompson on New York's weather station. 1010 wins on 92.3 FM.
City officials flexing their muscles when it comes to gym membership cancellations and other issues with a crackdown on what's described as a gym membership subscription trap, sending warnings to gyms like Pure Gym, Planet Fitness, Equinox. Commissioner of the Department of Consumer Worker Protection, Sam Levine, tells 1010 wins.
So I've definitely heard from many people who have had to show up, including, and this has happened to me, who have to show up in person during certain hours to cancel a membership. So they'll tell you, come back to the gym 9 to 5. And it's like, can't come 9 to 5. That's when I'm working.
Saying common so-called traps include hidden junk fees as well as trouble canceling, as you heard. No word on a response yet from the gyms. Another nurses' bargaining session today between New York Presbyterian and striking nurses. Their walkout now at more than 6 weeks, involving around 4,000 nurses. At issue staffing increases, health benefits, safeguards against workplace violence, too. Another is whether the hospital system will move to replace the more than 4,200 nurses still on the picket line. Montefiore, Mount Sinai nurses went back to work this past weekend. There is a reason why they call Chicago the Windy City. A gust of wind blew an 8-month-old child, baby girl, in the stroller into Lake Michigan Wednesday afternoon. Multiple witnesses on the scene quickly reacted and rescued the baby. Among them, Good Samaritan Leo Cundiff.
I'm just glad that the stroller was up and not face down. The baby dipped under a couple times that I was able to keep her up. And she was breathing and crying when we got her out.
In speaking with WLS-TV, she was reported to be hospitalized, good condition. Cundiff himself, who says he doesn't even know how to swim, but jumped in anyway, was hospitalized for monitoring of his heart. Fast-acting snowmobilers to the rescue of a wildlife giant in distress.
Tim Woolenweber was snowmobiling with friends on a trail near the border of New Hampshire and Maine when they spotted a young moose stuck up to its neck in snow. They decided the safe thing to do was to leave it alone. But when they circled back 3 hours later, the moose was still there.
That's when we decided we should stop and give it a helping hand.
Hey, you're all right.
One of the men started recording as they did a lot of digging. They eventually moved enough of the snow so the moose could climb out and continue on its way.
Michael Wallace. NASA releases a report on the findings into the problems with the Starliner crew flight test that ended up with 2 astronauts stranded on the space station for nearly 9 months.
NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman stresses that the crew of the Boeing Starliner flight returned safely, but the path did not reflect the agency at its best.
Failure to learn invites failure again and suggests that in human spaceflight, failure is an option. It is not.
Isaacman adds that NASA declared a Type A mishap and is ensuring leadership accountability.
But we are not going to fly again, crew or uncrewed, until it's ready.
NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman outlined a mix of hardware failures, leadership missteps that created the risky conditions for the crew. 1010 Wins Entertainment is next. Heartbeat of the city at the speed of New Yorkers. 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM.
The News Watch never stops. This is 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM. You give us 22 minutes, we'll give you the world.
Good evening, 38 degrees at 7:40. I'm Mario Bosquez, and here is what's happening. Could the weekend usher in more snow? AccuWeather looks ahead. Mayor Mamdani updates a jail action plan, including a Rikers condition overhaul. Time to sign up the little ones for applications open for a new Upper East Side Early Childhood Education Center. Manhattan man pleads guilty scamming, which authorities say letting him live in a hotel for 5 years without paying a cent. People are flipping out, literally, over a hair flip Guinness Book Challenge at Grand Central. Cloudy, bit of rain tonight, drizzle, low 36. Winds news time 7:41. Let's get to where you need to go. Here is Andre Farrow.
Big trouble in the Bronx, Mario. If you're traveling eastbound by Webster Avenue, we have an overturned car and delays that go back to the George Washington Bridge. So that's going to make the George Washington Bridge increase in traffic heading inbound. As of right now, you have about a 15-minute delay heading across the Alexander Hamilton. Here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. The outbound George Washington Bridge will run you about 10 minutes as well. Mostly underneath the apartments is where all the static is. Lincoln and Holland Tunnel round trip, maybe you need 5 minutes. That's about it. Southbound Harlem River Drive is busy heading down past the Triborough exit 17. If you're traveling on Long Island, here's what we see on Long Island's Big Three. Eastbound Southern State Parkway, right around that area, Fletcher Avenue, working on a crash there in the left lane. Now, the westbound side of the Southern, right around Central Avenue and Valley Stream, is slow because of a westbound crash on the Belt Parkway in Queens over by Merrick Boulevard. That's what's slowing down the traffic there. Northern and LIE look good in Nassau County. The southbound Cross Island parking lot, never good. Slow by Northern Boulevard. Go with a clear view. Andre Farrow, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM.
The weekend is around the corner, so apparently there's a chance of more snow. Here is AccuWeather meteorologist Brian Thompson.
We are watching for the potential for some snow as we head late into the weekend, and now this is with a coastal storm that's going to be developing off to our south. Now, as is typically the case a few days out, we are still watching for where exactly the storm is going to track, how fast it's going to intensify. Those will be keys to just how much snow we get. Right now, we do expect about 1 to 3 inches of snow across the tri-state. If the storm intensifies faster and the track is a little farther north, closer to us, we could see some higher amounts. But if it's farther south and intensifies more slowly, that's how we'll end up with some lower amounts from the storm Sunday into Sunday night.
New Yorkers are finally starting to see the pavement again. Alternate side street cleaning has returned, and Will Torres, who was moving his car, was happy. Are you ready for more snow this weekend?
Well, I understand it's going to bypass us. It's not going to hit us directly, so
maybe 1 to 3.
I don't believe it. I think that we're not going to get hit. We got hit pretty hard, so we good.
But he knows New York weather can be unpredictable.
I remember one time in March we had a snowstorm, so it could get funny during March and April.
Will's mind is already on the boys of summer.
Yankees and Mets, how they doing? Who's injured, who's not, who's coming up, who got a contract, who's getting traded.
Opening day is just over 4 weeks away. Marla Diamond, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM on the Upper West Side.
Keep it here for the latest from AccuWeather. Mayor Mamdani updating a jail action plan, including a Rikers condition overhaul. involving the city plan to meet the Board of Correction minimum standards in collaboration with the newly appointed remediation manager, trying to improve those conditions at Rikers, both for those in custody and the staff. Among the plans, ending 12-hour shifts and going to 8 hours, and end mixing people in custody of all ages together in the jail system overall. As for city shelters, the city coming up with a plan to return the shelter system to comply with legal and regulatory standards that have been suspended in response to the asylum seeker humanitarian crisis. The first congressman to visit the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn since ICE started keeping detainees there, said to have doubled its presence. Dan Goldman, congressman, telling 1010 Wins about speaking with several of the detainees themselves.
One of the people I spoke with has been in the United States since 1997. If he should be deported because of going through the actual immigration process, that's a separate question. But he certainly should not be sitting in jail.
Goldman's district does encompass the prison site. No response yet from ICE as of yet. Time to sign the little ones up. Applications open for a new Upper East Side Early Childhood Education Center.
Council Speaker Julie Menin represents this section of the Upper East Side, explains that this child care center was completed last July.
And parents would walk by, and yet we wouldn't understand why it was not open.
The East 65th Street facility will open in September. Mayor Mamdani describing the need here and in many neighborhoods.
We are going to make this a city where parents are no longer forced between the choice of raising a family and staying in the city that they love.
Pre-K applications are due February 27th. If you want to add this location, you can edit your application online. Juliet Papa, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM.
A Manhattan man pleading guilty today to a scam which authorities say let him live in a New York hotel for 5 years without paying a cent. Mickey Barretto, 50, used an obscure city housing law, say investigators, forging property records too, and what prosecutors say was an apparent attempt to claim building ownership of the New Yorker hotel. 8th and 34th, pleading guilty to a felony count, filing a false instrument. He got 6 months behind bars, 5 years post-release probation. An unprecedented arrest. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, the younger brother of King Charles, and stripped of his titles now, being questioned on suspicion of misconduct in public office.
Any reaction to your brother's arrest, sir?
King Charles ignored reporters as he arrived to open London Fashion Week, but the king had already made his own position clear earlier, releasing a statement saying the law must take its course, affirming his faith in the British justice system. The message to the British people, no one is above the law here. Indeed, we're told the king himself was not told beforehand that his disgraced younger brother was about to be arrested.
Vicky Barker with the story. Police say he was released under investigation, meaning he has neither been charged nor exonerated as the investigation goes on. Andrew was held for hours before being released. The first time in nearly 4 centuries that a senior British royal had been placed under arrest. Courts in New York State give the green light to Democrats to redraw U.S. Representative Nicole Maliotakis' district, which could play a role in the fight for House control. Now there's rogue Republicans looking forward to the Supreme Court making a decision to stop the redrawing of those boundaries. After the big loss in state court yesterday, a state judge threw out the boundaries last month after an election law firm aligned with the Democratic Party argued the district dilutes the power of Latino and black voters in Staten Island and in southern Brooklyn as well. Cold case solved, say investigators, involving the murder of a teen, solved 44 years later using DNA from a cigarette recently linking the man to the crime. Sarah Greer, 13, raped and strangled to death May of 1982, Cloverdale, California. Now, James Oliver Eunuch, 64, convicted in the case. Officials say he'll be sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. FBI officials reaching out to authorities in Mexico to help aid the search for Nancy Guthrie remaining missing.
Law enforcement sources tell ABC News investigators are exploring the possibility Nancy Guthrie was taken across the border into Mexico, just 60 miles from her home. There is no definitive evidence, but the sources say the FBI alerted Mexican authorities just in case. Mothers of the disappeared who look for missing people in Mexico are putting up posters of Nancy and asking people in Sonora, the Mexican state that borders Arizona, to share information.
Aaron Katursky with the story, series of tips and leads at this point leading nowhere. Work is underway in Philadelphia to restore an exhibit about people once enslaved by President George Washington.
There had been empty spaces where the panels about 9 formerly enslaved people once hung, but now a federal judge has ordered the National Park Service to restore the exhibition by tomorrow. This advocate thinks it's
because the grassroots response was so robust.
The Trump administration has appealed the judge's ruling, and the Department of the Interior is calling it unnecessary judicial intervention. But many black community leaders are celebrating.
Allison Keyes with the story. The Trump administration had removed this exhibit over a Trump executive order directing sites not to display elements that, quote, inappropriately disparage Americans past or living. The U.S. Attorney's Office declined to comment at this point. Let's get you where you need to go, and here is Andre Farrow.
And we have a disabled bus around the Helix in New Jersey over by 495 heading westbound. So if you're using the Lincoln Tunnel out of the city, out of Manhattan, you do have that delay waiting for you. It's not a major delay, but it is out there heading towards JFK Boulevard. Here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. Well, the Holland Tunnel is wide open round trip. We do have delays northbound on Tunnelly Avenue heading up towards Manhattan Avenue. The inbound George Washington Bridge, as I mentioned, there's an overturned vehicle on the Cross Bronx eastbound by Webster Avenue on its back. So that's going to cause the inbound George Washington Bridge to increase. And sure enough, it is. You have about a 20-minute delay heading inbound now. Now, if you're using the outbound side, the span is clear. Getting there is slow over by the Sheridan. You're tapping the brakes on the westbound Cross Bronx. The southbound side of the Cross Island in Queens, you're slow by Northern Boulevard. Van Wyck, the repeat offender from the Q down to JFK, not good. Brooklyn Bridge, Brooklyn bound, seeing some volume. Here's what we see on Long Island's Big 3, an eastbound crash. Southern by Fletcher Avenue. Not much on the LIE and Northern State Parkways. Finally, Andre Farrow, 10-10 wins on 92.3 FM.
I would never do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's get a check of the AccuWeather forecast now with meteorologist Brian Thompson.
Mainly cloudy tonight with some rain and drizzle developing overnight. There could be some ice or even some wet snowflakes north and west of 287, where temperatures will drop closer to the freezing mark tonight into early tomorrow. A low in the city about 36 tonight. Periods of rain and drizzle for tomorrow, a high near 40. Mostly cloudy tomorrow night, low 38. Temperatures not dropping much. And Saturday is actually going to be a fairly warm day. Clouds will break for a little sun, a high of 47. Some places may even hit 50. But then Sunday, cloudy, brisk, and colder. We'll have some snow from a developing coastal storm. Question is how much. The snow continues into Sunday night. Snow may accumulate 1 to 3 inches. Could be more than that if the track of the storm's closer to the tri-state and the storm intensifies faster. Could be less if the storm track is farther south. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Brian Thompson on New York's weather station. 1010 wins on 92.3 FM.
Now, Bloomberg Money Watch.
Couple of encouraging signs in the U.S. housing market. The latest snapshot of mortgage rates from Freddie Mac shows the average rate on a 30-year fixed loan fell to 6.01% last week, lowest level since mid-2022. A year ago, the rate was 6.85. Follows word from housing brokerage Redfin that the median U.S. home price, which has grown less than 2% on an annual basis for 10 months, rose just 1.1% in January. Wall Street indexes pulled back here today. Dow fell 267, NASDAQ down 71, S&P down 19. I'm Andrew O'Day, Bloomberg Money Watch on 1010 wins at 92.3 FM.
1010 wins. I can get all my news while I drive.
I'm really intrigued to see what's going to happen.
You know, I tune in about 5 or 6 times a day.
1010 wins.
On 92.3 FM.
WINS FM and HD1 New York. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
More people get their news from 1010 wins than from any other radio station in the nation. John Davis, service aide for Tina Kakar, editor's desk. I'm Mario Bosquez.
All news, all the time. This is 1010 wins on 92.3 FM, New York.
38 degrees and cloudy at 8 o'clock. Good evening. I'm Lane Bajardi. Here's what's happening. Snow in the forecast this weekend. Details from AccuWeather and reaction from New Yorkers ahead. A dark day for the British monarchy as the Andrew, formerly known as Prince, is detained and interviewed by investigators looking into what he told Jeffrey Epstein while in his official role in the British government. A state appeals court rejects Congresswoman Nicole Maliotakis' effort to block a move to redistrict her seat. The Ramdani administration putting city gyms on notice.
The era of trapping New Yorkers in gym memberships they don't want is over.
Huge win for the U.S. women, defeating Canada for hockey gold. NBA's back tonight. Knicks host the Pistons. Nets play in Cleveland. AccuWeather says cloudy with a bit of rain and drizzle around daybreak. Watch for a period of icing for areas north and west of 287, low 36. Wins News Time 8:01. Let's get you where you need to go with Kelly Dillon.
We have a huge mess tonight on the eastbound Cross Bronx into Webster Ave. It's an overturned car that knocks out the two right lanes. Traffic at a complete standstill back across the inbound George upper level. That's about 20 to 25 minutes right now. And then westbound rubbernecking on the Cross Bronx. So do skip that area. And here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. Luckily, the outbound George is moving all right. The Lincoln Tunnel, we've got some trouble now. Looks like if you're heading into Jersey on the outbound Helix, there's a broken down bus in the right lane. So starting to back up the Helix. The Lincoln itself still okay. The Holland, nice and quiet in both directions. A bit slow on the outbound Brooklyn Bridge. Inbound, it is looking all right. Here's what we see on Long Island's Big Three. The southern state at a standstill. Eastbound at exit 14 in Hempstead. The left lane down with a crash. Sunrise Highway will be much better. Luckily, both the LIE and the northern state remain quiet. And we're busy tonight on the Bad Wicked. Winds both directions into Hillside Avenue. It is bumper to bumper. Kelly Dillon, 1010 wins at 92.3 FM.
So ahead of the AccuWeather forecast this weekend, details from meteorologist Brian Thompson.
We are watching for the potential for accumulating snow across the tri-state, especially Sunday afternoon into Sunday night with this coastal storm that's going to be around. Before that, we're still going to see things melt over the next couple of days. High temperatures will be in the 40s, might even be close to 50 on Saturday. But then the snow moves in, it looks like on Sunday, and will continue